Real estate inquiries boom. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Still working through my morning stein of coffee, and I thought we'd have a look at this article from the Sydney Morning Herald shared to me via a viewer. Now, it's the boom in demand or inquiries to real estate agents because of the home builder grant. There's been a sudden surge in interest. Now, I can't say I'm entirely surprised. I'm sure there are people that have taken advantage of the ability to get access to their own money in their super, and then they see this grant, and maybe they have some savings, and the market's quietened down a little bit, and they're thinking maybe now is the time to pounce on that new house or get into the market. Is it a bit preemptive? Are they jumping too early? Or is that what the entire grant is designed? Well, yeah, I mean, there's still time to hold off until get your ducks in a row, plan, hold off, see what happens in September. If there start to appear more forced sales on the market, that's when the prices will be affected. Remember, it's the edge cases, it's the last sale in your area that affects the price. But I would not be surprised if people are jumping on board and getting ready. So let's have a look at this article once I position it so you can actually see it. We're all getting funny buggers here. So free money. Real estate agents flooded with calls about the home builder grant. So real estate agents in outer suburbs have been flooded with calls about the Morrison government's home builder grant for new homes and renovations. But major industry group warns many people will fail to qualify unless the scheme is expanded and normal processes are suspended. Now, there are a few people, I've been reading about this in other articles, a few people have been saying, oh, the timeframes are too short, this, and the other. Rachel actually went through it and looked at the requirements for the grant with regards to renovation work. And depending on how you fund it, if you self-fund it, if you're up with the cash, you only get paid on practical completion. So you've got to stump the 25 grand and you get a payback at the end, which is, well, at least here in Queensland, how it works. It would be interesting to see how the grant is deployed in other states. I'll have to have a look. But there are ways to mitigate the risk. You can just pass it on under the contract to the builder to ensure that they take possession of the site within the time frame stipulated. I mean, think about it, guys. You've got until December. It's tight. It is tight. You've got until December to sign a contract. Then you've got 3 months after that to commence work on the site. And what would be a consideration of commenced work? I would argue it's the first justified progress claim from the builder, even for prelims, for initial work, site establishment costs. Wouldn't that be considered starting work on site? I'd imagine it would be. So, Liverpool-based retailer Dean Boskovic said he took 70 calls in 24 hours and had probably 8 buyers telling me they were ready to buy. They're ready to utilize the grant straight away. Master Builders Australian boss Danita warned governments may need to exempt applicants from the program's rules unless banks and castles speed up loan and development approvals. Home Builder is deliberately targeted to kickstart building activity over the next months when the viability of small builders and the security of jobs will be most under threat. This is what the industry asked for, she said. And, I mean, they're right. The industry is going to take a hit. It already has been. Construction has been going down. Now, I did a video just yesterday about how building approvals went up. A rise in building approvals. And it's funny because people will say, Florian, you only talk about the negative things. I do a positive video and it gets no views or hardly any of the views of the other videos. It's just funny how the algorithm works. So we'll have to see how these dwelling and private house approvals, how they continue with regards to the next month and the next few quarters. If this grant will start to influence people's decisions, if they'll start to jump in, pull projects forward, or take the leap. But the banks need to speed up lending, and state and especially local governments play their role and speed up approvals. Where there are intractable issues, the federal government should consider exceptions. Buyers are eligible for the $25,000 subsidy announced last week if they sign a building contract on a new home by the end of the year. The 750,000 limit on the property value makes it a perfect fit for home and land packages in the outer suburb of major cities. So lifting the lid on the home buyer grants. And see, this is the thing. There are pundits in the property sector who are concerned that this will dampen the value of property for established business houses because there's going to be more demand for new ones, which, well, makes sense. So then you'll get housing that's more affordable. If you don't need the 25 grand, you'll be getting a better deal on established houses. Lifting the lid on the grant. So new homes where the property does not exceed 750, renovations between 150 and 750 where the existing property does not exceed 1.5 million. The contract must be signed between the 4th of June and the 31st of December. Construction must commence within 3 months. And you must be an owner-occupier, earning no more than 125 if you're an individual or 200 as a couple. So these are not, well, they're not incredibly rich or wealthy income brackets, guys. They should be comfortable and they should be in a position where they can magnify this grant. Now, I've looked at this in a previous video, and I will bring it up. I will bring it up right here above. I'll just type the time in here, 6 minutes and 20 seconds, where the objective of this isn't to even give away free money to people. It's to stimulate economic activity. By putting in the $25,000 grant, for every $100 the government puts into this grant, after 5 spins through the economy, they get the equivalent of over $1,300 of economic activity. Just think about that. If you put the same money into social housing, it's nowhere near as much. That's the point. And the more economic activity you get, the more jobs you create and maintain, the less demand is for social housing. What type of civilization do you want to live in? Do you want to live in where the majority live under state care? Or do you want to live in a civilization where the majority are independent? Let me know your expectations in the comments below. But Tom Forrest, chief executive of the Urban Task Force, which represents property developers, said the scheme would have limited use in Sydney, where fewer packages were available under 750 grand. Well, that's fine. Then all the Sydneyites can just sell, work remotely, and live in Brisbane. Perfectly fine. If I was to be cynical, I'd say it seems to be directly targeted at Queanbeyan, he said, referring to the New South Wales town in the seat of Eden Monaro, where there will be a by-election on July 4th. The price range is right for there, which was where it was launched. It's a good start, but it doesn't really apply for Sydney, and Sydney is the driver of the whole economy. Mr. Forrest told the Sun Herald and the Sunday Age the government needed to do 3 things: extend the time frame, have a look at the threshold, and make it apply to all new homes. The scheme, there we go. The scheme, but then again, there'll be a point where the 25 grand won't be enough to budge if the home is so expensive. The scheme is estimated to cost $688 million, but is uncapped, meaning anyone who qualifies will receive the grant. There is also a renovation component. Homeowners can claim 25 grand towards a renovation or knockdown rebuild if their property's current value is below 1.5 million, and they spend between 150 and 750 on the job. The government expects the grants to fund 20,000 new home builds and 7,000 renovations. The package aims to stimulate the construction industry amid the pandemic-induced recession. And as I was saying, with the grant, if you're funding it yourself, you don't get it until practical completion. So you need to stomp up with all the money with the 25 grand, and you'll get it back afterwards. So it's designed to stimulate the economy. Assistant Treasurer Michael Sukkar said the federal government would work with the state to make the delivery of the home builder as seamless as possible to achieve this objective. And what this is saying, another viewer mentioned on the comments who was bearish on property, and I thought it was quite a good insight. Housing is to Australia what the stock market is to the States, and the government, the Reserve Bank, everyone will do everything they can to prop it up. Everything they can. I thought that was quite insightful. What do you think? Do you think they'll keep doing everything they can, everyone? Applicants must sign a building contract by December 31, and construction must start within 3 months of signing. Critics say the tight time frame means many people who qualify would have been planning to undertake the project anyway. Yes, that's the point. That's the point. It is to pull the project forward. It is to pull projects forward during a period that was a lull. because people don't have confidence. Consumer confidence is just in the gutter. Business confidence, business conditions are also in the gutter. So people are saving. Saving rates is higher than it's ever been. This isn't a handout, guys. This is to pull people who have the money to spend, to encourage them to spend it now because they're worried about economic activity. And that's it. It's pretty much a bribe from the state to push people to spend. That's what it is. Don't think it's anything else. Don't think it's charity. They don't give a crap about what people are building. They just want to get it moving and they want to get economic activity going. That's the problem. All these people are calling, oh, we could spend it on social housing. That's the whataboutism. That's not going to have the same impact. You're not going to get the equivalent, the 4x of private investment that's increasing it. It's that simple. And then if you put it in that, larger, bigger projects, it's going to go to the bigger builders, the bigger contractors. It's not going to be distributed as far and wide. This is no different to all the people who were calling for it's very similar to Steve Keen's, debt jubilee, $100,000 for everyone. It's not as broad, but you've got to appreciate what they're trying to achieve. I mean, it's market intervention. And I would prefer that the markets are left to their own devices, but there doesn't seem to be the political will on any side of politics here in Australia. Few people are not, have a look at the results of our PM. His numbers are way up. So, real estate agents in the outer suburbs of major cities were inundated with calls from prospective applicants last week. Mr. Bosovic, director of Boss Realty in Liverpool, said he took 70 to 80 calls in one day after posting about the program on Facebook. I'm getting so many first home buyers saying, Dean, tell me all about it. We want to pull the trigger on this, he said. There have been a lot of buyers sitting on the fence because of the pandemic. This is going to be the kick that pushes them over the edge. One such buyer is a 27-year-old Krishmir Kurdam, who plans to sign for a 2-bedroom apartment in Liverpool off the plan worth $480,000. It's insane. I can't believe it, he said. People are crazy not to utilize it. It's the government pretty much giving out free money, but it's not free money unless you capitalize on it. Okay, I would consider buying an apartment off the plan in Sydney at the moment being insane. Seriously, maybe it's just the business that I'm in, guys, and I'm bringing up a chart here to show you. Maybe it's just the business that I'm in on the fact that I've been talking about all of these construction issues that have been happening around all of Australia. It's not just Sydney. And all the multi-res buildings, the triangular fail that I've identified between Sugar, Mascot and Zetland. I wouldn't be buying off the plan. I mean, buying a speccey and signing a contract is a bit different to buying an apartment off the plan. Spec home isn't that advanced, guys. I mean, the one thing that will frustrate a lot of people is just the amount of foam that's stuck on the outside and what you're paying for it. But he's braver than I am. So, it was a similar story in Melbourne, with Sidman Homes general manager Mark Richardson said the phones were lit up literally instantly when the package was announced. Our foot traffic has increased. Our web traffic has increased, and the number of deposits we've taken in the last 24 hours have been substantial. It's all very positive coming out of the hibernation of the pandemic. Greg Dean, principal of Absolute Real Estate Strathpine in Brisbane North, said people aren't jumping until they get all the details, but we're definitely getting some interest. See, I'm from the south side of Brisbane. It's south side rules. The Grant Institute's finance program director Brendan Coates said the benefit of the new building scheme would mostly flow to outer suburb areas and maybe some areas in the middle suburbs for the smaller renovation scheme. You're looking at renovations in the inner or middle rings of major cities. Mr. Coates said the people who would really benefit from the home builder scheme were retirees. Some of them are going to look to downsize, and they could use it to pay for a 2 or 3 bedroom unit in the centre of our cities and buy that new, he said. Candid Richardson, Managing Director of Newcastle Build Smart Constructions, which also does designs, welcomed the scheme but doubt it would generate any new developments. We have a lot of people ready to kick their projects off. I've told them straight away that there's a slim chance of us getting this to contract in time, he said. Lead time between conception and signing contracts is usually at least 6 months for a custom build of any kind.
It's a bit of a short turnaround for anyone to do home renovations unless they were going to do them anyway. Yeah, that's the point, guys. Am I the only one that understands that this whole point is to push people to pull projects that they're about to do forward? Seriously. This is not going to create work out of nowhere. People who are apprehensive to take the jump are going to take the jump. That's the whole point of this. I thought it was obvious. Maybe it's not. Mick Phillips of Bellevue Property in Charlestown in Newcastle said the package was poorly constructed and rushed through. Well, that's everything to do with the government at the moment, isn't it? Applicants usually took many months to get council approval, he said, while homeowners could afford a $150,000 renovation in his region would likely have a household income above $200,000, making them ineligible. Well, you can risk smarter. There's faster ways to get through council, guys. You just pay for a town planner and pay extra. Anyway, what do you all think? Are you surprised that there is a rush of people doing, we still meant to do this shoulder bump and crap. I'm shaking hands when I'm meeting people out and about. I'm doing it wrong. Are you surprised that there's a sudden rush of interest from potential first home buyers? Do you think this will be enough to spur the market? Or do you think people are just getting their ducks lined up in a row to wait and see what happens? If you were taking the jump on this, would you be buying a unit off the plan, which seems ludicrous to me, or would you be looking at a cheaper speccey? Even if you take a hit, at least you still have a backyard. As always, please let me know your thoughts, opinions, and leave your comments down below. If you're a fan of the channel and want to support the content we make here, there are a few ways you can. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us via using our affiliate links at Amazon or eBay or Independent Reserve and Kucoin. You can buy our merch from HeiseSays. You can support us using Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or you can use PayPal. Take care, guys. I'll see you next time.